They have turned the U.S. government into a fetid swamp of corruption and decay. We're leaving a galaxy-sized mess for the Democrats to clean up. It's history repeating itself, but of course it's much worse now, isn't it? It's really, things are at a pretty pass. For example, the infrastructure is falling apart. I swear, I think George W. Bush has just absolutely slaughtered his party, slaughtered his party, slaughtered his party, slaughtered his party. Thank you, George W. Bush. Thank you, George W. Bush, for pretty much leading your own party to slaughter. And now they are in such trouble, it's not even funny.
A new Democracy Corps Greenberg-Quinlan Rosner survey finds young people are, quote, profoundly alienated from the Republican Party and its perceived values.
Wait a minute. Did that say... Wait a minute. Did that say... I'll start over. Wait a minute. Did that say young people are profoundly alienated from the Republican Party? Rah! Oh, young people are profoundly alienated from the poor Republican Party. I'm trying to imagine what it's like to be young, growing up and saying, what's the deal with these Republicans? Now, of course, I can't speak for young people, but I just imagining myself young, and I would just keep saying, are these people crazy? You know, it's like, my favorite time there is like 2000 to 2006. It was like a laboratory experiment in conservative policies. 2000 to 2006 were, in my opinion, a virtual laboratory experiment in right-wing policies. Oh no! To be more specific, however, listen, consider this. Our infrastructure is falling apart, right? Recently, a terrible tragedy occurred in Milwaukee. Recently, very recently here, a bridge collapsed in Milwaukee, and many people were killed. I mean, it was horrible. But also, interesting was the reaction to that. That bridge fell down, and it was like everybody wanted to flip Ronald Reagan the bird. A bridge falls in Milwaukee, and by now you see that whole small government thing of the Republicans. Just like the small government thing has led to things like people getting killed. I mean, what isn't falling apart now? I'm sure our infrastructure, I'm sure there are dangers to our health and safety every day. I'm sure there are brushes with death every day we wouldn't be having if we hadn't had that little 6-year experiment in, well, what can the right wing do for America? That's what I mean. It's an obvious historical lesson. The right got what they wanted. They got into power. What can I say? No, guys, you had your shot. It came in 2000. It's kind of weird, you know. They had to pretty much rig. Well, they did. They had to rig the election. They had to just cheat and push, and they have control of the media, and they suppressed the Democratic vote. It really is pretty much treason, okay? What I'm saying is it really took acts of treason for the right to even get into power, but they did it. In 2000, we had this wonderful 6-year laboratory experiment. I would say 6 years, of course, because what happened is after 6 years of, excuse me, it was 6 years. Hey, excuse me, it was 6 years of the most tragically awful government ever. It was like one stupid decision. It was like one catastrophe after another. They began to piddle away the Clinton surplus. You didn't know this? They did. Bill Clinton, the press won't give Clinton credit for anything. In case you wonder why I often cite Bill Clinton's record, well, excuse me, can you find anybody who is citing Bill Clinton's record anywhere? My favorite thing is the fact that the voting machines would often, and probably still, often, turn up the Republican's name no matter what. Now give me a break. And you know as well as I do that it's always the Republican. As far as I know, it's never flipped for the Democrat. This alone tells you it's pretty obvious that guys with a really rudimentary knowledge of software engineers of very low intelligence, wrote software that was going to flip people's votes. This is what I believe. The companies are all owned by insanely, and I mean insanely, partisan right-wing people, you know. It was like if you were going to have an obvious form of fraud, this would be it. Have all the votes counted by wildly partisan right-wing companies and software written by really dumb right-wingers. Come on, the software for the voting machines, it's written by right-wingers. How good could it be? And we now know it's among the worst software anyone has ever seen. Small wonder they wanted to hide that software from us. But I always thought it was like the software engineers who were writing the software, which was, I'm sorry, pretty obviously designed to flip the elections to Republicans. Pretty obviously, because you see, they were such bad software engineers that they forgot on occasion the software would slip up and it would reveal that it was being flipped. You see, now that was not good. Keep in mind, these are right-wingers trying to write software. And that's why the software for the rigged voting machines was so bad that it gave us a clue that I would call just, it's a smoking gun for all but the dumb. No, sometimes, I'll give you this again now. I want you to read my lips. Many of the voting machines will sometimes turn up the name of the Republican candidate no matter which button is pushed. What can it mean? Hey, what could that possibly mean?